Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Let's talk about what does it take to get to 100%. Now, here's the deal. It's about being properly rated, and I believe many people are underrated, meaning that many people should be at a higher rating than they are today. Now, in some cases, that might push you to 100%, and I'm going to throw this out there. The longer you live, the more likely you're going to get to 100% simply due to increased severity, warranting increases in your disability compensation, and the complications that create secondary conditions. So with that, hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. I also want to throw out a very special thank you to Stephanie Foley, 5569. Stephanie Foley, thank you so much for the super comment, super chat. I truly appreciate your support very much. All right, so let's jump into this. When you think about VA disability compensation, some of the things, the hurdles, if you will, that pop up and roadblocks and all of that stuff are in our own mind. Why? Because we just simply don't fully understand all of the process and all of the rules and regulations and all of that. There's so much nuance in veterans VA disability compensation. So let's start there. So I'll even go as far as some of these things are embedded in our minds simply from the words that are used, like VA disability. Many times when you hear the word disability, you're going to assume or think of something that is physically disabling. Although the VA world of disability compensation is filled with a ton of non-crippling, non-physical related conditions. So that in itself makes us self-segregate out. So understanding that is the first big picture. The second thing that's huge that we do to ourselves simply by just not knowing is we tend to think that we have to prove to the VA that our condition was caused by our time in service, right? Caused by the military. That's not really true either. What the VA is looking for is show me that your condition manifested during your time in service. Now, the three components to a successful claim, as far as getting service connected is concerned, is this. You must have your time in service, right? So how do you prove that? Your DD-214, here's your time in service. Now, obviously, reserves a little bit different, especially if you have no active duty time in the reserves, but maybe you got injured during your time in service, and maybe you were National Guard, so you have the NGB, I forgot now what it was. I was in the National Guard. I don't even remember what the form is. Anyway, somebody will type it in. So the equivalent of the DD-214, but for the National Guard. So you're going to take your DD-214, and that's going to give you a block of time, a period of service. Now, this is specific for active duty people. This is why it is, in my opinion, really advantageous to be active duty, go active duty. If you want to do reserves later, that's great. Do that. But active duty is really kind of the whole enchilada, if you will. And in fact, if you hung on for 3 minutes and 45 seconds, put enchilada in the comments. All right. So your time in service creates this window of opportunity, entry date, exit date. Okay. That's your window of opportunity for direct service connections. Now, they're also going to look at your character of discharge, right? You should not have a dishonorable discharge. So those two things are going to be looked at on your DD-214. Next, the next component that you need is you need to have a diagnosed condition that is chronic in nature or has residual effects, right? So it has to be an ongoing problem. You can't, I had a cold once and now I feel better. That's not how it works. So you have to have an ongoing problem. The diagnosis has to be for something that's ongoing. You could have chronic frequent migraines. Okay, that is a chronic problem. It's ongoing, and that could be a service-connected condition. You could have your a chronic lower back issue. You could have sleep apnea. You could have diabetes. You can have, you name it, right? A chronic condition that is either chronic, a condition that's either chronic or has residual effects. So that's the second thing. Third thing is the nexus, the link between the condition and your time in service. Okay, the link between your condition and your time in service. What the VA is saying here is what they're not saying, let's do this first. They're not saying, prove to me that the military caused this solely, that that's the only way. No, that's not exactly what they're saying. Now, of course, if the military caused your problem, then of course that's what you're proving. But it's more broad than that, right? And this is where people get hung up. So really, you need to look at it as the VA saying, okay, Nexus, prove to me, the VA, that your condition either manifested during your time in service, is a result of your time in service, or was worsened by your time in service. It's those three things. These are the laws. This is the laws that are in place. These are the rules. This is what's in place for us as veterans for our service to our nation. And oh, by the way, I look at it like this. Our benefits package is so good, although cumbersome, okay? But it is so good partly because our time in service was so bad. And I don't mean just for those of you that may have been in combat, right? Let's just come back to just just being in. I will tell you this, regardless of your rank, whether you're a private or a general, doesn't matter. You were severely underpaid compared to your civilian counterpart. So your civilian counterpart that would be doing the same duties, the same responsibilities, the same risks, all of that would be paid substantially more. We see that in the contractor roles that many folks take after their time in service. They'll join up and they'll work with a contractor and go back overseas. Okay, that is it's evidenced there, right? I mean, I had buddies of mine making hundreds of thousands of dollars for 6 months. So you're making $400,000 in a year, that type of stuff. That's a big difference. Well, there's no benefits package with the contractors. So we have a benefits package on our side. So that sets you up, okay? Those things that I just talked about, your time in service creates the window of opportunity. Your diagnosed condition, chronic in nature, has residual effects. Your third thing is that nexus, prove that your condition manifested during your time in service as a result of your time in service or was made worse by your time in service. That is going to set you up for your service connection, okay? Now, if you have problems working that aspect and you cannot find a free accredited resource, reach out to us. We're happy to help. Evidence-based VA claims. We'll do a free email consultation, and then we guarantee that you will get an increase or new condition, new service-connected condition. So take advantage of that opportunity. Reach out to us. Information's in the description and in the comments. Now, this is getting you service connection. That is essentially half the battle. The other half of the battle is getting the correct rating, okay? Too many people are underrated. Too many people are underrated and barring them from hitting their maximum appropriate rating. And in some cases, that'll be 100%, right? So what needs to happen? Well, you need to ask yourself this question. Am I properly rated where I am? Well, and if you aren't sure of that question or the answer to that question, well, then again, reach out to us because we're happy to help. Here's what you have to do. You have to understand where your condition falls in the rating schedule and what different ratings are available for your specific condition. Then you have to ask yourself, do I meet the criteria for this rating? Okay, do I meet the criteria for this rating or this rating or this rating? And wherever the ball stops, right? If it's a 30% rating, then it's 30% rating criteria. But you need to make sure that you prove to the VA that you meet that criteria. That's where the ball gets dropped. People don't take the time to figure it out. People don't take the time to go document it with a medical professional. appropriately as it relates to the rating schedule. And they throw it against the wall, and the VA then, sends you off to a C&P exam that you're not prepared for, and then you give them the information that they ask, and you shortchange yourself, and they give you a lower rating. So that's what happens. Now, in addition to that, in order to be properly rated, not only do you need to make sure that you're getting the appropriate rating for every condition that you are rated for as it relates to the rating schedule, but you also must make sure that you have all of your conditions rated, okay? Don't just say, I'm only filing for this because this is the one that bothers me the most, or this is the one that really frustrates me. That's the wrong answer. You should be looking at all of the conditions that's either manifested during your time in service, are a result of your time in service, or were made worse by your time in service, and you should be filing for those. Then you should look at all of those conditions and realize if any of them are creating secondary conditions, and then you must file for those as well. This is how you compound your ratings and get to your appropriate rating. And in some cases, it will be 100%, which brings me to 100% rating from the VA is not the maximum rating. So do not, again, shortchange yourself thinking, well, 100% rating is reserved for the worst of the worst. No, it is not. 100% is simply the maximum on that rating schedule, the 0 through 100% rating schedule, which is, quite frankly, the rating schedule that's utilized for everyone that's served. Doesn't matter if you only served in Hawaii. The next rating schedule is special monthly compensation, and that rating schedule is reserved for the worst of the worst circumstances and situations and pays out substantially more. So with that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one, and remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.